those guys taking decisions or in front of a family asking you, what have you been doing? We don't see anything coming from you. Even something is lacking somewhere. So let's go forward. What I mean by going forward, we have already started by Abidjan 1, Abidjan 2, the 1CG, and we're following definitely what is happening in terms of reform of the CG system, what it means to have 1CG. I know you're asking yourselves the same question. So we are here to finalize the reflection and go together and work for agricultural productivity here in this continent, because this continent is so diverse, this continent is so immense, it's a big continent, so we all have to put our effort together so we can reach at least and get the impact we are looking for. When you're talking about, change in the environment, and we're talking about the theory, theory of change, it means we want to impact. So if you don't talk about impact, I don't see what we are doing here. So let's do it together, and I hope this meeting will help us get good ideas so we can move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's appreciate it, please. Thank you very much, Alioune. Let me call Dr. Claudia Sadov. Claudia is the Executive Managing Director for the 1CGIAR. At the same time, I would like to call Dr. Harold Roy Macaulay, who is the Managing Director for Regions and Partnerships. Please all come here so we facilitate the movement. And let's give them an appreciation. Claudia will come over straight to the podium to give her opening remarks.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is really a wonderful opportunity to be here today at the CGIAR Plenary. All of us here recognize the urgent needs for Africa. We know that hunger is at unprecedented levels. We know that climate change will make it worse. And we know that small farmers often bear an unfair brunt in all of these changes and challenges. These are problems that we know we share, but we know they are not insurmountable. They do, however, require real partnership from all of us. As in the past, that partnership will rest heavily on research and innovation. Research and innovation will have to be central to transform the food systems of Africa and the world and provide the technologies that our farmers need today. That is why, in response to the demand that we've been hearing from our global, our regional, and our national partners, our science partners, and our funding partners, the CGIAR has really begun to reimagine its own mission and strategy. Our mission is to transform food, land, and water systems in a climate crisis. So we have brought together in closer coordination all of our CGIAR centers into a more integrated and impactful one CGIAR. The aim is really to be fit for purpose, to tackle today's challenges, and to better serve smallholder farmers in Africa and across the global south. We know quite clearly that for the CGIAR to be a success, we must be a success in Africa. And as a consequence, we have had over this last year some extremely candid and constructive dialogues, the Abidjan dialogues. And let me just take a moment to say how grateful I am for the partnership that we had in those dialogues. Honestly, it would have been easy to pretend when we were in a room together that things were okay and then just not let them move forward. Instead, we had very honest conversations that were quite difficult at moments, but conversations that really led to positive outcomes. And today, I believe we are on our way because of the willingness of all of our partners to speak to us with honesty and passion and help us find the right way forward. So the action plan that was launched yesterday and that we're celebrating again here today is a testimony to moving from that honesty to those shared goals and through to action, giving us a real framework that we can all align behind to bring us forward, to bolster agricultural research and innovation systems across the countries, to build capacity across the global south, and to provide the technologies that are needed for small-scale farmers. A wonderful example of that, of course, is TAT, the Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation program supported by the African Development Bank, but we'll be hearing about a suite of scaling activities here today, all of which are exciting and providing impact for millions of people across the continent. Since Abidjan 2, we have been working with our partners in creating this action plan that we're celebrating here today. And so today we will focus both on the action plan and where that is guiding us, as well as the different scaling activities already in train, already moving us forward across the continent. At CGIAR, we are deeply committed to strengthening our partnerships to achieve the goal of zero hunger in Africa. And we see the Abidjan dialogues and the action plan as a real model for continued collaboration with African research and innovation stakeholders. We look forward to working with our partners to accelerate momentum and to deliver the tangible action that we all need moving forward together. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sadoff. Now we want to invite Dr. Roy Macaulay, who has a slightly different agenda, but we'll hear from him.
Yes. Thank you very much, Kwesi. Good morning, everybody. So my task here is to just emphasize on what Claudia has said. We had quite great consultations with the African Agricultural Research and Innovation partners, and they expressed the need for us to come closer, to develop stronger partnerships, and the CGIAR has been working on that in terms of expanding its footprints, and obviously if we have to do this, we have to do this with our partners. So what we have done is to actually the new directors that were appointed at Joel Harting, that is carrying out other roles in the regions as regional directors, and some of them are also senior directors of research. We also have to actually meet people on the ground. We have in countries, country conveners, and these are CGIAR staff. So we have this structure that we have put in place to actually get in touch directly with our stakeholders and partners in the regions. And during the discussions, one of the asks was that we should ensure that the representatives of CGIAR in Africa are actually working in close collaboration with the constituencies. And if we're saying that, we need to actually introduce them to you. Most of you are here representing your institutions, and we want, for transparency reasons, to introduce them to you so that you can know them. Please solicit them with moderation. So I'll call on our regional directors in Africa. That some of them are directors general, and some of them are representatives. So I'll start off with Dr. Baboucarr Mane. Please come up the stage. Dr. Mane is from the Gambia, and he's the recently appointed DG of Africa Rice and the CGIAR Regional Director for West and Central Africa. Obviously, he's based in Côte d'Ivoire. Thank you. And prior to this appointment, Dr. Mane served as the regional representative of Africa Rice in Senegal, with administrative oversight over 7 West African countries, and was also one CGIAR country convener for Senegal. So he's here in front of you. When you want to talk to him, just call upon him. He's there for you. Thank you. I'll call on Dr. Simeon Ewi. Please. Dr. Simeon Ewi is from Côte d'Ivoire. He is the recently appointed Director General of the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, and the CGIAR Regional Director for Continental Africa. Dr. Simeon Ewe. Dr. Simeon Ewe is based in Nigeria. He will be based in Nigeria. He'll be joining us on the 1st of August. He will be based in Nigeria, and he will join IIT and one CGIAR in August 2023. I'm right? Yes. He comes from the World Bank, where he has held several key positions, including manager of the Food and Agriculture Global Practice for South Asia and Africa, Director of Food and Agriculture Global Practice, and he's currently the Regional Director for Sustainable Development for Western Africa and Central Africa. So he's a man well-charged, ready to actually take us through. He has a lot of contacts in Africa. Thank you very much. Dr. Apollinaire Jikeng. Well, I should say professor. He's a professor as well. Professor Apollinaire Jikeng is originally from Cameroon. He's the recently appointed DG of the International Livestock Research Institution, ILRI, and the CGIAR Senior Director for Livestock-Based Systems. He's based in Kenya, and prior to ILRI and one CGIAR, Professor Jikeng was Director of the Center for Tropical Livestock Genetics and Health, and based at the Roslin Institute, and Professor and Chair for Tropical Agriculture and Sustainable Development at the University of Edinburgh. Professor Jikeng. We also have for you Dr. Namukolo Kovic. Dr. Namukolo Kovic is from the Gambia. She's the Zambia. Zambia, sorry. Sorry, Namukolo, I wanted to take you down to the other part of Africa. She's the DG, the Director General Representative of ILRI in Ethiopia, and the CGIAR Regional Director for East and Southern Africa. She's based in Ethiopia, of course, and prior to these appointments, Dr. Kovic worked for IFPRI, where she coordinated the A4NH project in Ethiopia and provided representation for A4NH interactions with the African Union and the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, CADEP. And she obviously has other focuses, and she will actually find time to discuss that with you. Thank you. And so these are actually, I would call them ambassadors in Africa. And please, I wouldn't say consume them, but solicit them with moderation. They're dear to our hearts. Just before I leave the stage, I would also like to mention Inga. I don't know whether Inga is here. Is Inga here? Please, do you want to come? Inga is the country convener. So I was talking about the structure, and Inga is the country convener for South Africa. So she's actually convening all our work in South Africa. That's a big job. So this is just an example to show how far we've gone in trying to expand our footprints. We've gone right down to the ground. And if you have anything, issues with the CGIAR in South Africa, Inga, and she's been helping us. Thank you very much, Bessie.
Let's appreciate Harold as we welcome. I like the dignitaries introduced and those already seated. Please come in front and let's take a quick snapshot of them. Please just come. Now, whilst they come, let me tell you the significance of what we are observing. Today happens to be my 40th year in the CGIAR, and I've never seen anything like this. No, seriously, I've never seen. When we started in the CGIAR, every management position was white. was a white person. The first time we had a DG who was not white was IITA with Nteranya Sanginga. Now we have all the 4 DGs and the regional directors who are from the continent, various countries. So if we say we have not taken into recognition of making sure Africans are in core positions, this is evidence. Don't take the photo without me. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Very good. So please, you can take your seat.
Thank you very much. Always ready for Africa. It's great.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we are getting into the meat. And I would like to call the 1CGIAR Regional Director for Continental Africa, who is also the Director General of IITA, to come to the podium and take us through the first presentation on making the 1CGIAR reform work for Africa. Simeon?
Yes. Thank you very much, please.
You have 15 minutes, and I will stand up when you are 13 minutes into it, please.
No, thank you very much, Kwesi. And good morning, everyone. I didn't hear. Good. I must say that I'm quite excited to be able to give this presentation at this FARA event, even though I'm yet to start officially my position on August 1. This is when I was at the IITA board meeting a couple of weeks ago. I told the staff that if they could actually use the Nigeria Juju to accelerate the August 1 to tomorrow, I will start. So they're working on it. I want to, over the next 15 minutes, I would like to talk about making the CGIAR reform work for Africa. I want to make, okay, it's very clear. So, okay. So as many of you know, the CGIAR has been a leader in ag science and innovation over the past 55 years. And the CGIAR has produced scientific advancement that have benefited millions of impoverished individuals worldwide. And we have supported and partnered with various national agricultural research and extension systems and regional organizations. Today, our focus is on addressing multiple challenges in an integrated manner. By collaborating, sharing knowledge, and employing innovative approaches, the CGIAR envisions a future where food and nutrition security are ensured, and biodiversity is preserved, economies thrive, and communities are resilient in the face of climate change. So the question is, given that, what is the mission of the CGIAR? In today's world, there are several complex challenges that require immediate attention. One of the major concerns is the inability of more than 3 billion people to afford a healthy diet. This issue is worsened by the looming global food crisis, often triggered by conflicts and instability in different parts of the world. Climate change poses significant risks to agriculture, which is both a contributor to and a potential solution to the problem. Agriculture is also a primary cause of biodiversity loss, endangering the delicate balance of ecosystems. Gender equality remains a critical issue. Youth unemployment is also a major issue. So by collaborating and adopting sustainable practices, we can pave the way for a more resilient and inclusive future for everyone. So having stated the mission, the next question is, what is our approach? How do we do it? We do it by adopting a systems approach, an integrated system approach. We believe that addressing the scale and complexity of the challenges at hand necessitates adopting a system transformation approach. This approach aims to achieve multiple benefits across 5 SDG focused impact areas, and I'll talk about that in subsequent slides, recognizing that these areas are interconnected and should be pursued collectively rather than in isolation. To effectively tackle these challenges, we must engage in an interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary work. By building upon our strong track record of impact, we can go beyond the boundaries of individual farms and extend our efforts into broader landscape and food systems. So now that we know the approach that we want to take, how do we get organized? The CGIAR reform, also known as One CGIAR, is a comprehensive effort to merge all 13 CGIAR centers into a unified organization. This initiative aims to capitalize on the combined strengths, partnerships, and global reach of CGIAR to address the complex challenges we face and achieve greater impact. By uniting the diverse expertise and knowledge of the CGIAR centers, One CGIAR establishes a collaborative and cohesive framework. This integrated structure maintains the unique identities and specialized roles of the centers while promoting collaboration, innovation, and efficiency throughout the organization. Moreover, and this is very important, the consolidation under One CGIAR brings about a streamlined and efficient organization structure. By aligning operations and functions, the organization can optimize resources, reduce duplication, and facilitate effective decision-making processes. This ensures that the organization operates more efficiently and maximizes impact. So, one might ask, what is the One CGIAR strategy? A strategy was developed to 2030, and it's focusing basically on a future where food and land and water systems are sustainable and resilient, capable of providing diverse, healthy, safe, sufficient, and affordable diets. The document is available, it's publicly available, and I encourage each one of you to read it if you have not done so yet. CGIAR recognizes the urgency of addressing climate change and aims to develop and implement innovative solutions that promote resilience and sustainability. To maximize its impact, CGIAR has identified 5 impact areas and set targets aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals. By pursuing transformative action change across the impact areas, CGIAR aims to contribute to achievement of the SDGs and generate positive outcomes for both people and planet. Now, what does the CGIAR do research on now that we have the strategy? So we have global research areas implemented through regionally integrated initiatives. I want to give you just some highlight on these areas, and the graph here is self-explanatory. The global research area on system transformation, what does it do? It involves engaging with policies, institutions, and stakeholders to drive transformative changes in ag systems. The other area is genetic innovation. Our research there includes development and dissemination of informed technological solutions, particularly in the form of improved varieties and seeds at farm level. The third one is the resilient agri-food system. There, our research focuses on developing and implementing practices that enhance the resilience and sustainability of agri-food system. All these are implemented regionally, which is the green circle in the middle. There, we emphasize the importance of continuous demand creation, feedback loops, and on-the-ground research that is highly relevant to specific regions where we work. CGIAR focuses on 5 impact areas that include nutrition, health and food security, poverty reduction, gender equality, climate adaptation, environmental health, all contributing to the SDG goals. So, practically, the next question is, how does the 1CG work? What is its operational structure? So, as you can see, basically, the CGIAR, this is not this. This is an extra slide. This is let me change this one. No. Yeah. Let me. I was looking for the one. No. Okay. Okay. Let me focus on this one in particular. Okay. So basically, in this particular slide, you will see that the CGIAR places regions and countries at the core of its approach. It recognizes the contextual nature of challenges and solutions, and CGIAR engages closely with regional and national stakeholders. By positioning regions and countries as central dimension of partnership, CGIAR ensures that its work is tailored to local needs. It maximizes relevance and generates tangible impact on the ground. You can see on this graph, on this map, that there are 6 regions: Latin America and Caribbean in red, the Siwana, Central and West Asia, North Africa in pink, West and Central Africa, yellow, Eastern and Southern Africa, orange, if I may say so, South Asia in blue, and East Asia and Pacific in green. Each region has a regional director. But one thing that I would like this audience to note is that Africa has 3 regions. This signifies, the importance of the continent. So there are 3 regional, directors, and they were introduced earlier. So let us focus a little bit on Africa. Africa holds a central position in the functioning of the CGIAR, demonstrating the organization's strong commitment to the continent. 3 CGIAR centers have their headquarters located in Africa, and I hope 4 soon. I mean, if we are able to bring in the World, Agroforestry, praying and crossing, we'll have 4. And practically all centers have operations and projects in various countries across the continent. This presence ensures that CGIAR's research and initiatives effectively address the unique challenges and opportunities in Africa. Furthermore, a significant portion of the CGIAR budget, over 60%, is allocated to activities and projects in Africa. This financial commitment underscores CGIAR's dedication to supporting agricultural research and innovation on the continent. To ensure effective coordination and engagement, Africa has 3 directors, as I mentioned earlier. And then in addition, there is 1 continental director who provides strategic leadership for CGIAR work across the continent. And I was given the responsibility to perform this task. Country focal points, also known as conveners, play a critical role in coordinating internal and external engagement within specific countries. They serve as key contact points, facilitating collaboration and ensuring effective communication between CGIAR and stakeholders at the national level. So overall, CGIAR's engagement in Africa is characterized by collaboration, coordination, alignment with country and regional priorities to achieve meaningful impact. Next question I have is, what are the CGIAR engagement in major Africa-focused events? A clear example is FARA, where I am today, where we are today. So, under the new Directorate for Continental Africa and the 3 Africa Region Directorate, CGIAR is poised to play an enhanced and coordinated role in major events. For example, participating in the FARA Africa Agribusiness and Science Week, like the one we are attending now. The presence of CGIAR is to help to increase and coordinate involvement to this event, and also it signifies its commitment to promoting agribusiness and science advancement in African agriculture. Another area is the commitment to the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit, the CADEP Partnership Platform and Consultation, the Agri-Africa Green Revolution Forum, the AFDB-led Dakar 2 consultation process. My time is almost up, so I will try to accelerate. In terms of how do we align with CADEP? We align with CADEP through our global science areas. The Genetic Innovation Action area, where the priorities include, the CGIAR coordinated with CADEP through the work that the CADEP is doing on disease resistance, improvement in seed systems, delivery, scaling up of effective practices and technologies, and promoting climate-smart agriculture. In the area of agri-food systems, the CGIAR collaborated with the CADEP on initiative regarding the environmentally friendly production systems, value addition, value chain development, sustainable environmental management, and also in the area of system transformation by dealing with scaling up practices and technologies, implementing inclusive development interventions, and so on, development of value chains. Now, last slide. I think yesterday there were some comments about as the CGIAR, the CGIAR reform addressing the Africa concerns. And you heard about Abidjan 1, you heard about Abidjan 2, and several meetings. So what was the concern? During the early stages of the reform process, there were concerns that raised by stakeholders that the CGIAR reform will leave Africa on the side, basically. So the CGIAR reform has taken that into account, and then the reforms that have taken place several consultations have been held, and that have led to Abidjan 1 and Abidjan 2 consultation. And then the outcome of those consultations is that a communique was released outlining key points of agreement on the proposed action moving forward. Additionally, the action plan was developed, which will be presented shortly after my presentation, and the action plan will provide further details on the specific measures to be undertaken to address the concerns and strengthen the role within the CGIAR. Let me thank you, Kwesi, and thank you for your patience. I wanted to give you this overview of one CGIAR reform in Africa. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ehui. Let's give him another round of appreciation. You know, his mind is full of World Bank stuff. He hasn't yet landed on the ground with the CGIAR. He's starting in August, and he's already on the podium talking about this. This is absolutely great. Now, let me make a little correction. There's no problem when you make a mistake going back to correct. When we were introducing the new regional directors, I did make a point that the CG has never had an African DG. That was not very correct, because we have one center which from birth was owned by Africa. Africa Rice started as the West Africa Rice Development Authority, WARDA, and it belongs to the sub-region. So from the very beginning, the DG has belonged to the sub-region of Africa, the West Africa group. And WARDA has become Africa Rice, and they have maintained that. So when I said there has been no African DG, it did not include that. So let's keep that in mind, okay? But the point is still significant, yeah? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we are coming to the point to hear a little bit more about the action plan. Let me call Dr. Agre to start mounting the stage, but whilst he does, let me emphasize and appreciate the role of FARA in working very directly with the Africa Development Bank, with the Africa Union Commission, in supporting the CGIAR to look at these critical issues that came up that has now resulted in the action plan. And it is for that reason that FARA is going to present to us the action plan. Dr. Agre Agumia is Director for Science and Innovation at FARA, but he is also the Executive Director Designate for FARA. He takes on the mantle from Dr. Akinbamijo. Agre, please take the floor. And you have 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Good morning. All protocols observed. It is an honor for me to make this presentation at plenary of the CG. Yesterday, we had a lot of presentations. There was a lot of statistics and a lot of new things that I learned. This presentation is about a partnership between the CGIAR and African Agricultural Research and Innovation institutions that FARA represents. What I learned about partnerships yesterday is that the thinking about partnerships is always evolving. We were told that in the very important partnership of marriage for a successful husband, we're told in the past that behind a successful man there is a woman. Then we got to know that it's actually not behind, it's besides. But yesterday, Dr. Desina told us it's actually in front. So the partnerships are always evolving, and the partnership between the CG and the African institutions is also evolving. My presentation is about the action plan. It was launched yesterday. Today, from Claudia, Simeon, who has just departed the stage, presented the background to to the action plan. So I'm going to devote the best part of the 15 minutes to the details of the action plan. So my presentation will start with the background on the context, and then I will dive and spend more time on the action plan. What are the actual actions? What are the tasks? And what the budget is. Simeon really started off in his last slide, started me off the background that early last year, as the CG was in the final stages of its transition to the 1 CG, the African Agricultural Research and Innovation stakeholders sought to have a dialogue with the CG to address several concerns. The concerns were mainly about the lack of engagement between the CG and the African stakeholders. And because of that lack of engagement, they felt that the implementation, the proposed implementation, had left the African fraternity behind. So that dialogue happened in form of the two Abidjans, Abidjan 1 in March and Abidjan 2 in May. And it was co-organized by the four institutions: the African Union Commission, African Development Bank, FARA, and the CG. FARA was representing the African Research and Innovation Institutions as part of its function. The consultations sought to ensure that the CG reform are in the best interests of African farmers. The consultations demonstrated the interest of the stakeholders, the African stakeholders, in the CG reform. They saw the reform as an opportunity to reset the partnership between the CG and agricultural research and innovation institutions. That expectation that this was an opportunity to reset the partnership was not realized as they saw the plans to roll out the 1 CG. The consultations, the two consultations, Abidjan 1 and 2, culminated into a communique. The communique had 7 points. We shall quickly look at them. And the final point of the communique was that FARA and the CGIAR should develop an action plan. And it is this action plan that has been developed that we are looking at today. I'll quickly run through the 7 points, the 7 principles and core values which were affirmed in the communique. The first is that the CG centers will remain as essentially building blocks of the CGIAR. So the centers remain, the center boards to be maintained. The CGI focus in Africa should include scaling of technologies. The CG should respect the position of a one united and integrated Africa, as we have seen with the appointment of a continental director and a continental structure, to create an institutional framework that supports and strengthens capacities of the organizations, and formalize the engagement with the key supranational research and innovation organizations, and to ensure that the voice of Africa is heard in CG structures. So those were the 7 principles. They were behind these principles, there were ambitions upheld by African research and innovation stakeholders. There are 6 ambitions, and in the interest of time, I will just quickly go through only some of them. The first one is that the strategies of the CG and AR must be premised on meeting aspirations that have already been laid out in the continental frameworks like Agenda 2063 and in the global framework of the SDG. That it was fundamentally necessary that the partnership and collaborative engagement in agricultural research and innovation must be upheld by both the CG and the African Agricultural Research and Innovation institutions, and that this should be based on sound partnership protocols. That the success of the CGIAR and partnership depends on doing things jointly in a meaningful and equitable way. The partnership must consider several mechanisms of governance for coordination, for priority setting, and so on. And that the products from key players should continue to reach the objectives, the key objective of zero hunger. That's the main outcome expected from this partnership. Now, this is where I want to land, which is the action plan. What is the action plan? What are the actions? And what are the tasks associated with those actions? But before I get into it, as an introduction, we have heard from Simeon's presentation that we've had 55 years of engagement and partnership between the ARIIs and the CGIAR. And a lot has come out of that. It's only that we expect a better partnership. We're not satisfied with what we have. The action plan spans 3 years, from 2023 to 2025. That's like 2 years. So the expectation is beginning of 2023, but it's 2023, 2026. The action plan is crafted and presented in a logical model approach, as we shall see. Its implementation will be coordinated by FARA. It's very important to note. FARA, in this case, is not FARA Secretariat. It is FARA, the forum, which includes the FARA Secretariat, the sub-region organizations, AFAS, other partners involved, the entire forum of that FARA represents. This will occur during a time of significant changes within the CGIAR as the transition is still ongoing, and significant changes in FARA, which is also in a state of transition. The objective is to strengthen the synergistic working mode between the two parties, the CG and the IRs. And this will contribute to achieving the end goal, which is zero hunger on the continent. Just a little bit about the process in developing the action plan. The tasks were carried out by both FARA and the CGIAR. And again, FARA here refers to the forum. And the process was an inclusive process. At least that was the aim. We started with a write shop in which AFAS, CADESA, the CG, CORA, FARA, RUFORUM participated. This was in November 2022. This write shop produced the first draft of the action plan. The first draft was presented to a round table of CGIAR leaders in December in Nairobi, and comments were solicited from this forum. Those comments were drawn upon to prepare subsequent drafts, which were put together with the help of a consultant. The consultant relied on online surveys of stakeholders, both the CG and the African stakeholders, carried out interviews of key informants and reviews, several rounds of reviews of drafts before we came up with the final draft that we have. That was launched yesterday. Now, by the time we put together the first draft, already 3 of the 7 principles, those ones highlighted in yellow, had been completely done. So the action plan, the actions that are in the action plan are really focused on the 4 areas that are not highlighted: scaling, institutional frameworks, and ensuring that the African stakeholders have a voice in CG structures. So what are the actions? The actions are 8 in number. The first action is to establish and initiate implementation of an institutional and governance framework. The key tasks there are an institutional assessment and formalization of the relationship between the CGIAR and the African institutions, informed by the institutional assessment. This is to be led by the AUC. It is to be carried out this year, and it will cost approximately $230,000. The second is to establish and initiate implementation of a partnership engagement framework and delivery models. This will involve implementing recommendations of the CG high-level independent advisory panel work that was, the advisory panel made some recommendations on how the CG should engage with partners. So those will be drawn upon to inform the partnership engagement framework. Second task is communication and partnership engagement plan, to develop that and to elaborate a partnership policy. This is to be led by the CG in 2024, and it will cost $150,000. 3, to establish a framework to accelerate the implementation of the science agenda for agriculture, or the CAADP science and innovation agenda. We have a science agenda. It needs refreshing. It needs to be reviewed, refreshed, and that would be the first task. Along with that is to identify priority interventions in the major initiatives that are ongoing, and to explore South-South cooperation. This work will be led by FARA in 2024, and it will cost $400,000. I'll point out that work led by FARA, the understanding is it's the various arms of FARA. Number 4 is to establish and initiate implementation of a joint resource mobilization policy and plan. The tasks involve establish and test advocacy approaches for funding joint actions, and this will be carried out in 2024 by FARA at an estimated budget of $150,000. Number 5, establish and initiate implementation of a framework for scaling. Tasks, scaling technologies. The task involved developing demand-driven approaches for scaling and the associated curricula, and then elaborating accountability systems for financing mechanisms and policy guidelines for scaling. This will be led by AFAS in 2024 at $350,000 as the estimated budget. Number 6, provide continued support to institutional capacity sharing and development across the African institutions and the CGIAR. The tasks are to strengthen and to broaden interventions to support capacity development, both human capital and infrastructural capacities, and to deepen partnerships between the African institutions and other international agricultural research institutions like CABI, CIRA, DCP, World Vegetable Center, and so on. This is to be led by RUFORUM and the CG in 2024 at $370,000. Number 7, I'm almost there. Establish a foresight approach for establishing longer-term partnership modalities between the CG and the African institutions. So foresight. So the tasks are to carry out a foresight analysis of partnerships and modalities for partnerships required to achieve zero hunger by 2030, and to establish a strategic foresight intelligence system that will serve the entire research and innovation community on the continent. This is to be led by FARA in 2024 at a cost of $200,000. Number 8, finally, develop a framework for monitoring, evaluation, and learning. The tasks are to identify common goals, define indicators, data collection methods, roles, reporting templates, and a plan for dissemination. This is to be led by the CG in 2024 at a budget of $150,000. Altogether, to implement this action plan over 3 years is estimated to cost $2.15 million. So, in summary, that's the action plan that will help us to reset the partnership between the CGIAR and the African Agricultural Research and Innovation institutions to help to enable us to move from commitment to action and to the outcome of zero hunger by 2030. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agumia, for a very calm presentation. And because of the import of the message, I didn't see anybody snoozing, because it's a very important presentation, and Agri did an excellent job. Let's give him another round of appreciation. Let me also specifically mention Dr. Yemi Akinbamijo. That guy is a fighter when it comes to driving institutional reform. And he was very persistent through this whole process. So I really want to appreciate his role and contribution that has led us this far. I also want to appreciate one person who was very active in this whole process, and that is Dr. Jonas Gianu. He was the consultant who worked with us to craft things and put all things together. So let's appreciate Jonas. I know he's somewhere. And finally, I would like to appreciate the communication team of CGIAR. They dedicated one of their colleagues, Kathy Lopez, with us. And it was a very, fighting against the clock. But Kathy made sure the editing, the typesetting, the printing, everything was done just before we took off. So let's appreciate Kathy and the communication team. Yeah, thank you very much. Now, we are, yesterday the plan itself was endorsed and launched, but we do have a number of the principals here with us. I hope they are here. We had indicated that we will give them, having now heard the detailed presentation, we will give them the pride of place if they want to make any commentary in relation to what we have heard presented. So we have on the list Her Excellency Josefa Sako. We also have Dr. Lindiwe Sibanda, who is the chair of the One CGIAR System Board. And we also have Dr. Alioune Fall, who is the chair of the FARA Board. Dr. Fall gave us the introduction, but he may want to say something specific in there. So if these three dignitaries are there, can they come up on the stage? And let's appreciate them as they come. I don't know how many of them are with us this morning, but we'll see. Yeah, Dr. Fall is there, even though he gave, but yeah, please. My sister, Dr. Lindiwe Sibanda, please come onto the stage. And let's see who is listed first. Her Excellency was listed, but I think she's not with us this morning.
Director of Ceremonies and all excellencies here, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. This feels like a wedding party. The baby has been long in coming, and finally it has arrived. So we have reason to ululate the African way. That's the one I was asking for. Yeah. But let me just say that all this is riding on the shoulders of giants. One of the giants is still here, our very own Honorable Dr. Papasek, who served as DG. We want to honor our heroes. Dr. Eugene Terry, who also served as DG in Africa, and Dr. Kanai Nwanze, who was with IFAD, but was also one of the principals who paved the way. Today, as CGIAR, we are celebrating what we've been calling a reform, but more of the end of the reform and over the valley. Change is tough for everybody, but if you don't change, the change will change you. So we've decided to change and align. The best part with the change is that we embarked on a journey where we have already delivered many firsts. We now have a single strategy. We now have a single vision for all our centers. That's what we call One. And thanks to Dr. Simeon Ewi, who eloquently described the new strategy that we are embarking on. What I personally like about that strategy is that as we speak to the same vision and mission, we've also gone out to appoint country representatives and regional representatives. What that means is that there is accountability at all levels and there is alignment. In most cases, when we talk about scientific institutions reforming, we run for the strategy because that's the easiest place that we are comfortable with. But when you now start changing structures, it means you are calling for platforms for accountability. You can now walk to a person, a living being, and say, what are you doing in my country? Why are we hosting you, and what's in it for us? To take this even further, we have developed an online dashboard. This is the first time I see CGIAR go out public and say, at a press of a button on our website, you can see where we work, who we've partnered with, what we do. Which impact areas of the 5 that were listed are we feeding to, and how you can hold us to account based on what we see as impact. I think that deserves another ululation. So when we say we are aligned globally, I'm proud to say we're even more aligned in Africa, because Africa is the only continent that came up front 2003-2004 with the CAADP, Comprehensive African Agriculture Program. And that has been the swan song for Africa with targets. And we have come as CGIAR to ride on that and say we cannot ignore the institutions, the sub-regional organizations, and the framework that FARA has worked on. So at this moment, as I lead the system board, I just want to say I'm proud to be African because we are organized and we are calling for accountability. As I say that, before I go to my written text, I just want to say to my brother Yemi, you should be standing tall. You started with AUC and you understood how those structures work. You took that to FARA and you were pushing the FARA science agenda. You then watched CGIAR as we were going through reform, and you said you will not leave FARA without sealing the deal, and today you have sealed the deal. Thank you very much for your resilience. They say legacy is about changing institutions and people, and you've done it. Thank you very much. We are all aware that we are going through difficult times globally. There is growing recognition of the crucial role that food systems play in global human security. And the UN Food Systems Summit in 2021 marked a turning point, and since then, momentum has continued to build. The G7, G20, COP26, and COP27 are among others that have formally acknowledged the urgent need to address the shortcomings in how we sustainably produce and distribute nutritious food to a growing population. Here in Africa, it is evident that transforming our food, land, and water systems is the only way to achieve zero hunger. Research and innovation will and will always be instrumental in driving this transformation. The agreement reached in Abidjan last year between the African Development Bank, AUC, FARA, and CGIAR signaled a growing and strong sense of purpose to capture that sentiment and commit to a coordinated research and innovation agenda that prioritizes the needs of African stakeholders. The resulting Abidjan 2 communique allows us to present a unified front that will inspire and increase trust and transparency. A joint approach by these main players, in concert with the sub-regional agriculture research and innovation organizations and institutions of national agriculture research systems, is eminently more investable. It strengthens our case in an environment where insufficient funding is directed towards the very food systems that lie at the heart of human security. The communique expresses our 4 organizations' commitment to working together to build Africa's resilience to future shocks by bolstering agricultural research and innovation systems at the national, sub-regional, and continental levels, and by equipping millions of farmers in Africa with the science and technologies they need to contribute to transforming Africa's food systems. We have also pledged to align institutional structures. We've pledged to align funding. We have pledged to align strategies. We have pledged to align policies and our capacity building efforts. The communique was, of course, just a start. Speaking to the urgency of the task at hand, it really is a remarkable achievement that an action plan is today being presented. I'd like to applaud all my colleagues for driving this process forward with such determination. On my part, under CGIAR, let me single out Dr. Claudia Sadov, our Executive Managing Director, who sacrificed her holidays, her time, to make sure Africa shines and wholeheartedly delivered this as the last present before her departure on 31 July. Let me highlight that at the onset last year when she took this task, she understood it would be a tough job, and she said, come 31 July, I'm out of here to do fun things, and hopefully that's farming. Thank you, Claudia, for blessing Africa with a gift. This action plan is the result of thorough and diligent analysis of the issues raised in the 2 Abidjan meetings. It is well aligned with continental, regional, and country goals, as well as the goals at the Sustainable Development Goals level, SDGs. On behalf of my colleagues in the System Board, I express our profound gratitude for the efficiency and commitment demonstrated in crafting this plan by all who were involved. Inclusive partnership remains central to the way that CGIAR will work. It is only in this way that we can deliver and develop a deeper understanding of the needs, the challenges, and the opportunities for research and development in food and land and water systems. Now, we stand ready for action with all our colleagues. There is much work to be done, and the challenges that we face are immense. They are systemic, and they concern our very survival. I firmly believe, however, that these challenges are not insurmountable. We will achieve zero hunger. With the giants of African development aligned and presenting a united front, and the global community and the global CGIAR centers worldwide, we have much stronger argument for investment in our endeavors. As CGIAR, we are launching a campaign to double our budget from 1 billion to 2 billion. And this is a journey that we are asking you to accompany us on. We have achieved a lot, and just this year, we have many firsts that we'll be listing and publishing, and we want to put that 2 billion target mark as one of the firsts that we'll achieve. Thank you for embarking on this journey with Africa, and thank you for believing in the CGIAR reforms, and thank you for always calling us out when we do wrong. We will stop and align. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sibanda. And Dr. Fall, please.
Yes, thank you once again. You know, I'm back on stage, and especially on this very important issue of the partnership between 1CG and FARA and all the SROs. Welcome to the baby. But I don't want the baby to be crawling, walking. I want him running. He should be running, because time is against, development. We have to be very quick and very fast and find ways to start doing the job, walking the talk. And it's very important. I'm saying that because I'm an outgoing chair and Yemi is an outgoing ED, and we believe that this work is in good hands. So no more talking. Let's just look at the action plan and see how we're going to implement this action plan. And things are happening at the country level. President Adesina said yesterday, don't tell me about 100 farmers, 200 farmers. Tell me about millions of farmers. And it's happening at the ground, at the ground level. The ground level is at the country level, meaning the NAS system. Definitely, if you don't implicate the NAS system in this action plan, it's going to be a big problem somewhere. So definitely we need to know to who we are reporting for this action plan for evaluation. We didn't talk about it. We say this is the action plan. This is what FARA is doing, what 1CG is doing. But who reporting to who for evaluation? I'm thinking, should we have a steering committee or something? And I say people like Dr. Pap Abdullah Sek, who's here sitting, Dr. Kanai, people who can guide us in terms of knowledge, in terms of knowing where to go. We say that we have to leave old people in the village. I'm not saying Pap Sek is old. He's a young guy, He's just 35 years old. And how many years of experience? Maybe 35 years of experience. So when you were very young. But, they can be sitting here and see very far, where we don't see, as young people running and left and right. So maybe we should be thinking of that, said who I'm reporting to, so we can measure the advances we are making in terms of implementing the action plan. So I'm not going to be very long because time is against us, but I definitely agree on all what you have said. We've been coming from very long. You take a lot of time to reach this level. Let's not back off. Let's go forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Fall. And we will take your point about really trying to establish a mechanism who is going to oversee all this process. And that's a very important point. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all who have... Yes, please. Please, now you can take your seats. I want to thank all who have been part of this first session. We're going to move into the second session, and whilst calling my co-moderator, Dr. Bram Govet, who is the Director General of CIMIT to the state, I want to find out if there is a CORAF, Asareka, NASRO, and AFAS representative here. Are they here? CORAF, Asareka, AFAS, NASRO. If they are here, very quickly, just come, we'll give you a copy of the action plan to signify that the work that Farah did, it involved all of you. But since you are not here, and I don't see you, I'm giving it to somebody else. Okay, we have Dr. Abdou Tenkwano, Executive Director of CORAF. So, that's your action plan. Yes, thank you so much. Exactly. And we have Mr. Moses Odeke from Asareka. So he is also taking the action plan for Asareka. Very good.
Yes.
Sorry?
Rahab Sayed, from
representing NASRO.
Yes.
Please come over here so they can. Okay?
Sure.
So that's for NASRO, taking it free. Thank you very much. And then we have Salim, who is representing AFAS, our advisory services. Is it? African Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services. Okay, so that's answering your question. And we have Candesa. I have to control one. It's always good to have something in your back pocket. When it comes to it, you pull it out. Candesa, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that's it. Yeah. Very good. So please let's take a quick picture and then thank you all so very much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.